This all started about a week ago. I'm a 22-year-old guy living in a mountainous part of the United States. I'm about 6'1" and a pretty big guy. My girlfriend is on the other end of the spectrum. She is 20, about 5'1" and thin. We honestly look like a pretty goofy couple, but we don't mind. My girlfriend and I were taking our little dog out for a walk in a park that's relatively close to my house. This particular park is mostly just woods, with trails and a baseball field and playground or two sprinkled in there. We come to this park somewhat frequently and expected nothing more than a relaxing evening on a warm January day. Nothing has ever really happened at this park to scare me, other than the one time in high school. My friend Zach and I were exploring off-trail and saw what looked like a small dead animal and a couple pieces of clothing under one of the bridges. I assumed we probably let our imagination scare us more than anything, honestly. My girlfriend and I are walking on one of the trails at around 6:30 p.m., talking about what we should do once we get home, when I notice our dog staring into the woods behind us. I call out her name, but she doesn't come. I do this a few more times, but she seems locked on something beyond the trees. Figuring she's just seen a rabbit or something for the first time, I walk over to my dog and scoop her up, my plan being mainly to distract her momentarily and put her back down once we're a bit further up the trail so we can finish our walk. When I get close to her, however, I can hear she's faintly growling and whining at the same time. I follow her eyes and look into the trees to see what she's so interested in. That's when I see it for the first time. It was about 30 or 40 yards away, but I could make out a man-shaped silhouette, just standing there facing us. I stood there for a minute and struggled to make out features. Any features, because it wasn't dark enough yet for me to just see the silhouette of someone. I could make out details on the trees behind it better than I could make out the human-shaped thing itself. For a moment, I wasn't sure if it was even a real person because of how long it stood completely still, until it moved its arms in a motion that wanted me to come closer to it. It was slow and non-threatening in the way it moved, and something inside me actually wanted to go towards it. It felt almost hypnotic. My girlfriend asked what was over there, which kinda snapped me out of the trance-like state I was in, and I quickly grabbed my dog and fast walked out of view of the thing standing in the woods. I glanced over at where it was standing, and it still remained unmoving, but I swear its head followed me. I told my girlfriend it was just some guy that kinda gave me the creeps, and that we should really get back to the car now. She asked what he did, and I just said he didn't really do anything, but that I had this sickening feeling in my gut that just wanted us to get away from here. I knew that the trail we were on looped back to the big parking lot, and we were halfway through it. I decided it'd be quicker to finish the trail than turn back and go the way we came, so we pushed on. My girlfriend seemed to not nearly be as worried as I was, not that I blame her, I guess, and started talking about how she's excited to get home and smoke a blunt with me while we catch up on some shows on Netflix. The whole time, I'm glancing over my shoulder every 30 seconds, carrying my dog, who also seemed on edge still. At one point, when I looked over my shoulder, I saw it again. It was closer this time, maybe about 20 yards into the trees. Still not moving. The thing was completely black, but it definitely was close enough to where I should have been able to see features relatively clearly, even as the sun was starting to set. I also never heard it following us, and we were going at a pretty quick pace. I should have heard twigs snapping or leaves crunching, and believe me, I listened for them, but it didn't make any noise, and even managed to close the distance between us some. My dog started barking and whining, and I shouted, "We have to go," as I put my hand on my girlfriend's back for her to keep up with me as we started running. She could hear I was scared, and turned around to see what I saw. She turned back around, eyes wide and face pale, and quickly passed me. "It's coming!" she screamed as we bolted for the parking lot at the end of the trail. This time, I could hear leaves and twigs in the woods as the thing chased us. I know this thing had to be faster than me, because I'm not exactly known for my speed, but it seemed to stay right beside me, just past the tree line as I ran. We finally made it to the parking lot, my girlfriend making it first. I threw her the keys and she started to unlock the doors as we scrambled to get inside and put the dog in the back seat. I backed out of our spot, and as we turned the corner to leave, I saw it rise up, like it had been running on all fours, and just watch us leave, still featureless. I had been going to that park around the woods since I was a kid, and I had never seen anything like that before, nor have I ever heard anyone mention anything like that, especially around these parts. My girlfriend doesn't want to talk about it, and my dog kinda can't in general. I don't know what I saw, but I know I'm not imagining it because I was not the only one who saw it. I doubt we'll take any more walks in that park anytime soon. If anyone has any idea what this may be, please let me know. I've had quite a few interactions with paranormal things in the past, but they were all deceased relatives of mine, grandparents and such that had passed on. So all of my experiences had actually been pleasant ones, and I always knew who they were when they visited me. But this encounter, I still cannot explain. I have no idea who or what this thing was, and that creeped the hell out of me. I was doing my homework sitting on my bed, and my dog Chase was curled up next to me on the end of the bed sleeping. Chase very suddenly picked up his head and got off the bed. He walked very slowly and robotically to my doorway and just stood there looking down the hallway towards the bathroom. I knew right away that something wasn't right because the way he was moving was just completely out of character for him. He's a beagle, so he's always been a quick-moving dog that's led by his nose in his never-ending search for food. I called his name softly, and he ignored me, which was also out of character. When he hears his name, he always acknowledges where it's coming from, be it with an eyebrow twitch in your direction, or a full head turn to look at you. But he did nothing. He just stood there staring, with his tail standing straight up and quivering. I was about to call out his name again, when he let out this weird howl that I'd never heard from him before. It was this unnerving one note, with no variation in it, and it made the hairs on my arms stand up. I called his name, louder this time, but he didn't respond, just kept making that horrible noise. I jumped off my bed and went over to him. I knelt down next to him and put my hands on his shoulders, calling his name again. No response, so I looked in the direction that he was looking, and I wish I hadn't. Hovering right outside the bathroom door down the hall was this ball of glowing white light with what looked like a black mist or smoke flowing off of it. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and my heart dropped into my stomach. I stared at this floating thing for a while, wide-eyed, with fear and curiosity. Suddenly, the orb thing shot through the ceiling and disappeared. As soon as it was gone, Chase stopped making his haunting noise and blinked like he had just blacked out and was now just waking up. He realized my hands were on his shoulder, and he turned to me, his tail starting to wag, and he gave my nose a lick. It was like nothing had happened, or like he had no memory of what happened, and that was really scary. What was that thing he saw, and what did it want with my dog? It was like Chase was being mind-controlled. I was terrified that it might come back, and of what else it could do. Thankfully, it never came back. I'd like to think my grandparents were still hanging around, and were able to protect me from whatever that thing was, but I honestly don't know. All I know is that I'm hoping to never see that thing again. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you email it to urmaker6260@gmail.com. And if you would like to gain early access to my content, as well as some other cool perks, make sure you go check out my Patreon page. It's a cool way for you to get some cool perks as well as support the channel. I appreciate everyone checking out this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.